You made it. Warm welcome to CrossYoga. Today is a little bit of a Christmas special, and I'm gonna talk about angels. I don't know if you know how many times the angels actually appears in what we call the story about Christmas. So find a seat. If you have a block, it might be helpful and nice to have, but beginning with a little bit of breath. So unroll your mats and sit down. Find a seat on the floor, or if you prefer on a chair, and then you can come down on the mat later on. But take your spine up towards the sky and tuck the shoulders slightly back. You can rest your hands on your thighs, that might be nice. And then you close your eyes. And let go of any Christmas stress or darkness that might be in your thoughts and your feelings. You can sigh out. And maybe you release things into God's hands, or just out to whatever you believe in. Don't force your breath to become slow and deep. Acknowledge that it might take some time, maybe minutes, if you're a bit stressed, a bit busy. And maybe you need to relax your shoulders or thighs or whatever, face, before you can actually breathe a little bit more softly. In the introduction, I asked you if you thought about how many times the angels appeared. And actually they do appear if you read both scripts on the Christmas 4 times, and 5 if you take the story about Zacharias and Elizabeth coming before Mary becomes pregnant, if you take those into account as well. So an angel meets Mary as she becomes impregnated with Jesus. But an angel also appears in Joseph's dreams, because he considers divorcing Mary out of honor for her. Actually, he's a good guy. So an angel appears not just once actually for Joseph. An angel appears in Joseph's dreams a second time after the birth of Christ. And the angel says to Joseph, move to Egypt, because it's not safe for you here. So that's 3 times. And then I think we all know about the shepherds, where the crowds of angels appears and sings and all that. So at least 4 times. And then the wise men, we don't hear that they see an angel, but they do have a dream where a messenger appears. And so you count. A lot of supernatural intervention during those months, that's for sure. An angel is often defined as a supernatural being that serves God. An angel arrives from a Greek word that means messenger. So it's a messenger serving God. How beautiful is that? If you're ready for some soft movement, do that while you are seated. Now we often see in different images and paintings, old paintings, that angels got wings, but we don't hear a lot about their appearance other than they are, they say fear not when they appear in real life in the story of Christmas. So they must have had some sort of quite an impactful appearance. I think the angels, the wings might come from the last book in the Bible where it speaks about a guy called Johannes sees angels, and there they have got wings. So that might be where the images of those wings are from. But we actually don't know a lot about what they look like. Downward facing dog. You can take your fingers out and take your hip up and back. Get some heat going on in your legs. Maybe a new move your neck. And then come down on your elbows. If you have a really thin mat, you might double the mat for the elbows. And then I kind of move my feet further back to find a plank. To really get the core on fire here to begin with. And then bring your knees down. And then you kind of take your hands, like gliding them back towards your knees on the mat. Coming up on your knees. You might use extra padding for your knees' sake. Bring your arms up over your head and go for a cactus arms. Maybe a slight back bend. And then bring your hands up. Again, palms facing to the front. Hinge forward, kind of moving from the hip, finding the mat somewhere here in front of you, and gliding forward for a little bit of an arch in the back. Then either on your elbows, or I actually prefer my hands coming into a plank again. Come down on your knees. Again, glide your hands back towards your knees. And I'm going to do this, repeat this sequence. So bring your arms up overhead. Move the hip to the front if you choose to lean back with your shoulders. Cactus arms. Bring your hands up again, bent from the hip. Bring your hands with the core in as far to the front as possible. A lot of great core exercise. And then I walk my hands further to the front. Move myself again into plank on knees, elbows, hands, whatever you choose. One more time, knees down. Drag the hands towards your knees. Up. Cactus arms. Arms up. Hinge forward. Slowly, maybe you take a little bit extra time here. And you bring your hands to the front. Coming up on your plank. And this time, move to down dog. Big breaths. Maybe bend your knees if you like. And then walk your feet to the top of the mat. Fold forward. And then rise up again. High mountain. Few sun salutations to get the heat going. Fold forward, and I'm following with a breath. Exhale as you move down. Inhale, half lift. Plank to low plank. Step back or even jump if you prefer. Lower down. As your hip come down, so move up. Use your hands. Go for a back bend in cobra or your up dog. And then down dog. One breath as you might adjust. If you want to use your Ujjayi breath, you're welcome to do that. That's a snoring sound. As you exhale, step to the front. As you inhale, exhale, move forward. Inhale, high mountain. Exhale, fold forward. Welcome to close your eyes. Half lift, inhale. Plank to low plank, exhale. Forward in cobra, up dog, inhale. Exhaling, downward facing dog, and one breath in down dog. Feeling the heat starting to arrive to the body. One last time, jump or walk. Folding forward, exhale. High mountain, inhale. One more time, moving forward as you exhale, Ujjayi breath maybe. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, plank to low plank. Lifting up your chest. And your downward facing dog. Amazing. One breath here again. And then to the front. If you choose to jump, take the heels off, bend your knees, look to the front, and then jumping to the front like this. I'm always jumping on the front of my foot, and then I lower down on my heel. And then you can rise up. Maybe you catch your breath. Maybe you think back, have you seen an angel? Some people say they have. I have never seen one, like I think they're described in the Bible, but I have seen, or at least I think I have, people that appears like angels in my life, like real physical people, right? But if the angel phrase means messenger from God, I feel like other people at certain times in my life have been God's messengers to me, with encouragement and healing and all that stuff. So maybe that's also God's messenger, just a little bit of a variation of an angel. Bring your arms up overhead, palms together. Relax your shoulders. Take your right leg up. I'm going to do a little bit of a sequence here. So really stand tall and maybe playing with lifting the heel off. Can you do a little bit of a lift here, standing on one foot? I find it super challenging, but just playing with it. And then move your right leg back, warrior three, with the palms together if possible. So leaning forward. See if you can align foot, spine and hands with the floor. And then lower down your right leg at the bottom of the back end of the mat. High lunge. Keep your arms overhead. Again, shoulders tucked down. And then we're going to move for a twist, but keeping our arms straight. So I'm going to take my hands here in front of my chest. Stretch out my arms like I'm shooting. I've done this a few times. I call it James Bond move. So really engaging the core, navel in. Trying to move this left hip, staying in place. And then bring your arms up overhead. Pivot the back foot around for warrior two. So back toes out to the side. Warrior two, get some distance going in between the feet. And then palms together here at the back. Squeeze your hands in. Now if you can't do that, just hold on to the back of your hand. And then you move your hands to the front, knee leaning back. Powerfully engaging the back, the shoulder blades. Maybe looking up. Let go. Release. Warrior two. Half moon, maybe with a binding. This is where you can use your block. So take the right leg, the back leg up, and maybe you bring your hand on the block, the left hand, because the left leg is on the floor. Take the right leg up, toes out to the side, and your right hand moves along. Now the binding would be seeing if you can take a hold of your toes and kind of going through this. Kicking your foot into your hand. Release. Step it back. Down dog. Maybe you sigh out. one of those Vinyasa things, which means plank. Inhale. Exhale, lower down, shoulders just slightly in front of your fingers. Inhale, cobra or your up dog, downward facing dog. Then we could do another variation of this where we get more into the triceps. Let's go into plank again. And then we lower all the way down, or maybe not all the way down, just hovering here, by, elbows by your ribs. Then lift up into a tricep push-up, and then your down dog. 2 more times, so we do it 3 times in all. Inhale, plank. On toes and knees, lower down. Inhale, up. Exhale, down dog. Feeling that. One more time. Inhale to plank. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, plank. Exhale, down dog. All right, to the front again. Shake your arms, your wrist as you fold forward. And then your mountain pose, arms overhead. Left leg, elevate it, bend your knees. If you want to go for more hardcore exercise, stretch out the leg. But remember, we're going to try to hold the balance on one leg. So try to lift the heel off on your right leg. Really great exercise for the foot. Just think about how much weight that little foot and that little ankle is holding for you. Whew. All right, warrior 3, left leg back. Toes are pointing down and the hip is closed. Spread out your toes and go for one more big breath. Slowly lower down, left leg. Bring your arms up overhead for a high lunge. Gonna do that James Bond move. So hands to the front and avoid tucking the shoulders completely to the front. I want you to keep them back and then shoot out to your right side. Stay hovering if possible. Really making sure the core is in as you breathe. And then bring it back. Warrior 2, turning that back foot around. Relaxing your shoulders. Palms together. And bring them to the front thigh behind you as you then lean back, really bending a lot in the front knee. How do you like that? Release our half moon. I love jumping, so I take this back foot just a little bit closer, jumping somewhat, and then seeing if I can elevate all of left side all at once, using the block if you like. Binding, again, if you think that's fun, a bit advanced. Again, you can also lift the fingers off the floor here. Or bring them to the front if possible. Let go, step back, downward facing dog. Sigh out. And let's do 3 tricep push-ups. So we're gonna do plank. Again, you don't have to go all the way down. You can do it on your knees, but 3 times, not going to downward facing dog. So face to the front, shoulders tucked in. 3, lifting up, staying here, plank. 2 more. Last one. And child's pose. Bring your hands down by your side. Have you been God's messenger to anybody? Now, if you want to play with your headstand, now is the time. You can do different variations. If you have one that you're practicing on, do that. And please use a wall if you feel a little bit unsure about what's going to happen. I like to fold my mat for the sake of my head. Now, all variations of headstands are welcome and acceptable and great. So just put your head down if you want, or do that triangle posture. So you have your hands behind your head, and so they do like a triangle shape, head and hands. And then you can do your clown pose like that, right? Or going for the full headstand, at least a variation of it. In my opinion, this one is the hardest one to do because it's just hard on the triceps. But easy on the balance for me. Slowly coming down. And again, child's pose. You might, shake your head or move from left to right just to get a bit of release in the neck. And then bring your hands again to the front. Just one more sequence with a little bit of playful arm balance. So come up into downward facing dog, starting in a new sequence. Bring your right leg up and back, and then bring it in for a plank. I'm going to do that 3 times. So lift up, you might inhale, and exhale, plank. See if you can lift the knee as high underneath your belly as possible. And one last time. So I'm using that Ujjayi breath if you can hear that. And then you bring your foot to the top of the mat. Warrior 1, so back foot a little bit out to the side. And if you have your block, bring it in between your hands on the second distance. We're going to push on the block, right? So I'm going to bring my hip towards the short end of the mat as much as possible. I'm going to squeeze in on the block with my palms, shoulders down. And I'm going to lift up like that, squeezing on the block. I'm going to bring my arms back, still squeezing the block, bringing the elbows somewhat in towards my temples. And then keep squeezing, lifting up and coming down. Doing that 2 more times. If you're really squeezing the block, your arms are shaking. Mine is. I do believe in angels, like real angels. I don't know if you do. But I also believe that God speaks and sends messages to us in a lot of natural ways. And one way is through our body, through nerves, through thoughts. All right, let go of that block. And then you turn on your feet into a white stand. Your toes are pointing out, horse stance. So come down like this. And you can hold onto your block just for now. And then you kind of move in a dancing horse from left to right, opening up. Now, the lower you go, the harder it will be, the easier if you just kind of shake your hip up here. All right, turn to face the back of the mat. We're just going to do those Warrior 1 postures again on this side, so you might remember if you can't watch the screen. Again, back hip to the front and squeeze in on the block. You might choose another distance just to play with it. I choose the smaller one. Pull in, lift up, elbows in, bring the block back, a bit of a tricep. Up and to the front. Use the fingertips as well, knuckles. One more time. So bring the elbows in if you have the small distance. We don't want to keep them out as we move our hands behind our head. All right. Turn again on the floor here in the mat. Toes pointing out. You can let go of the block. And this time, going low. Take your pinky finger and hand a palm on the thigh, and then sit really low. Stay here. Keep the knees out so you get a stretch on the inner thigh as well as strengthening those parts. Stay for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Whew. Either step to the top of the mat. I'm just going to stay here because I think it's easier to see. Shorten the distance in between your feet. Doesn't have to be really short. Fold forward. I'm going to do yoga squat now. So, toes pointing out. And this is where we're going to progress maybe into a handstand. So sit here like this and stay put. Now, if you can't do this, maybe leaning up against the wall is amazing for a yoga squat. And then you can go further down than you can just by standing. All right, crawl, crane pose, whatever you want to call it, is the next one. So if you want to try it, put your hands down, shoulder width distance. Bending your elbows. I'm a little bit unsure where to place myself here. But bending the elbows, take the knee cap or the knee joint up on your triceps, looking forward and just maybe rocking forth and back, seeing if you can find a balance eventually. I know some people like to have blocks under their head. I don't, but just trying to see what happens. Squeeze your legs in on your triceps. And some pants are just more difficult to do this posture in. Play with it. And when you're done, come back into yoga squat. Shake your wrists. And then we're really gonna engage the thighs. So slowly coming out, standing mountain pose as I count from 10. 10, rising up 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, still bending your knees, 4, 3, 2, and 1. That's always tough, I think. All right, hands down, downward facing dog, shake the legs. Child's pose again. Now there is a phrase that I absolutely love when the angel is meeting Mary and telling her too that she will become pregnant. It says here in Luke 2, verse, 35. The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. So the Holy One will be born, will be called the Son of God. Even Elizabeth, your relative, is going to have a child in her old age. And she who is said to be barren is in her 6th month. For nothing is impossible with God. Maybe you need to hear that. Maybe that's the angel's message to you. Nothing is impossible with God. But it is also followed up by the next sentence. I am the Lord's servant, Mary answered. May it be to me as you said. I am the Lord's servant. May it be to me as you have said. So that is a part of the two wings, so to say. For nothing is impossible for God. But we also need to reply with the next sentence, that we want to be in that place where we are God's servants, where God can actually do that in us. Lifting up and coming down on your belly. Hands down by your side and thumbs in by your thighs. Then you lift up your core, your feet, your toes stay on the floor, and then you lift your arms up, bending the elbows. See if you can actually get your fingers to touch somewhere. Stretch them out by your core, and then lower down. A few more of these. Lift as high as you can, buttocks involved. Elevate the elbows away from the floor, and then see if you can bend your elbows, let the fingers meet behind your back. Then stretch out your arms, lower down. 4 more times. Lifting high, reach your arms up, bending, stretching out, lower down. 2. And then stack your hands, forehead on those hands. So where in your life do you need to say, may it be as you have said? Did you ever receive a message where you have said, nope? Bring that thought with you as we take the elbows down. Again, an option of actually folding the mat and using the walls. We're going to do a forearm stand, or try to at least. So we're going to bring the elbows down. If you don't want to do that, just do a plank on your elbows like this, or maybe a dolphin pose, just to get a bit of another feel of this. If you want to kick your legs up, go it slow. See if you can hold your balance at one point. Keep breathing wherever you are if you're kicking up. And if you're ready to come down, it doesn't have to be long times, long minutes on any of these advanced postures, just a little of effort trying. Child's pose, rest if you want to, maybe a little bit longer. But if you're ready to move on for just the last bit of a stretch, I'm going to fold my mat for the sake of my knee. Bring your left knee on the floor, right leg out to the side, toes pointing out. I'm going to do gate lash pose. Go to this side, pushing the hip to the other. Nice side stretch. And let's do the opposite side. Now, the 2 times that the angels appears for the shepherds, or the one time they appear for the shepherd and the one time the angel appears for Mary, people are scared when they see an angel. And I think that's so interesting, because it's so natural, right? To be scared. If I saw an angel, I probably would be scared as well. But the first thing the angel says is always, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. So when God speaks to us, when he sends a messenger, of course we should think about it, pray about it, especially if it's people saying things to us, if it is a messenger from God. But let's not be afraid of receiving and even giving messages. Encouragement, I believe, is best. Encouragement to people. So maybe you think about, as we close this class and do the last bit of a stretch, wide-legged, seated forward fold. If there are anybody in your network, your friends, anyone you need to send a message to, an encouragement. Maybe not God says, but just thinking about you, hugs, or maybe a scripture with encouragement, something like that. Is there anybody that needs that today? Be God's angel for them. And then you might choose to sit or rest on the floor for a bit of meditation. I just want to finish with saying that when I have my morning prayer and meditation, I most days ask God if there's anybody I should, text to or do something for. Sometimes there are people that pop into my mind and then I send a text or something like that, and so sometimes there's not. So, but it's a great habit to kind of have that openness. God, is there anything that I can do for other people? So let that be the message for today in this Angel Christmas special. May God bless you, give you the peace, and may he send lots of peaceful angels with great messages your way. Thank you so much.